The Barbara Blaine Trailblazer Award is named after the founder of the Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests. She was a friend of mine, and she was an impressive advocate for victims of child sex abuse. This year, we are giving this award to 7 men in Georgia who have stood up and fought like no one you have ever seen.
Hello, I'm Stephen Hood.
My name's Chris Brazell.
Stephen Tann.
Justin Conway.
My name's Chris Garwood.
Dennis Rose, was born in Rhode Island.
My dad was in the Navy, so we moved around a lot. Moved to Scotland, Cuba.
Moved around quite a bit as a kid, but ended up in Kings Bay.
My parents offered an option for me to sign up for karate classes, and I jumped at it.
Parents are in the military and you're moving around. It's very hard to move into a new place and meet people, and karate was the way to do it.
When you first started out, it was just kind of fun, something to do, make friends, somewhere to go, just something to participate in.
Monday through Friday, I was taking at least 1 class a day and teaching either 3 or 4. So when I left school, I was at the karate school by 3:30, and I was there until 9 o'clock at night.
The martial arts and these guys were my life. It felt like home.
At 13, we were fighting in Olympic-style taekwondo, trying to make either the junior national team or the senior national team. And
He had these 5 or 6 guys that never lost in the state of Georgia or Florida or Tennessee. I mean, yeah, we wanted to be good, but we were built that way and used that way to help him.
you just always wanted to be the best. I remember at the time, I felt like that was the only way I could do it.
The 7 of them spoke to the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, the GBI, and in a very unusual move, the GBI issued a report and said these 7 men were extremely credible. Horrific abuse had occurred, and the only reason that they were not filing criminal charges against Craig Peoples was because of the statute of limitations.
I expected somebody who commits those kind of crimes against children, just heinous crimes, goes to jail. And when the district attorney said, sorry, the statute is run.
You know, you don't come forward thinking about, well, I better go look up the law and see how that's going to help me. You just expect it to be there to help you. It's almost like a shock therapy.
At that point, I was really thinking it was easier if I wouldn't have come forward.
It was very difficult.
You're supposed to be able to disclose and then work through that and work on recovery. But that's kind of hard to do when you're fighting on the other side. You're fighting over and over to try and get access to justice.
We had to do everything we could to get some form of justice so that other people knew to protect kids.
This mobilized, in particular, Justin Conway. We succeeded in getting in Georgia the Hidden Predator Act passed. This was a window that unfortunately did not make institutions accountable, but it did make perpetrators accountable. And so these 7 men filed a lawsuit against their perpetrator, declaring to the world that they wanted justice. And since the criminal statute of limitations had expired, the federal government had done nothing. The only thing that could be done was to file civil lawsuits and try to bring him to justice.
I know we've had a good team of lawyers and a good support team, but it just ultimately feels like the law and everything that we've had to go up against is just working against us.
It's already difficult enough just to come to terms with what happened, to have legal proceedings stretch out for 7 years because there's a statute of limitations. You know, if that had not been the case, the legal portion of this would have been done much sooner, I imagine.
I didn't understand the battle I was truthfully being a part of at the time. That what we were fighting to change this law and who was fighting against it.
In order for us to get justice for even just us 7, we didn't have to fight this predator and convince an entire community. We had to fight the Catholic Church. We had to fight the entire insurance lobby and folks that were interested in in nothing but special interest in campaign contributions. Kids can't vote or contribute to campaigns, so unfortunately, there's little interest in changing laws to benefit kids.
They filed a civil lawsuit, and in 99.9% of the cases, there's a settlement and it's over. Not this case. This case, you have a brazen pedophile who instead said, bring it on, let's have a trial. And so all 7 men were forced to testify publicly about the horrors that had been done to them.
You know, telling my family, my mother, my wife, my father, my sister, everybody, that was definitely one of the hardest parts. I had kept it such a secret that I would advocate for his karate school.
It was hard to tell my parents because I didn't know, I didn't want them to blame themselves. I didn't want them to think that they weren't a good mom or dad because they let this happen. So that was probably the hardest part.
For 20 years, I continued to tell myself the story that this was all my fault and something I did. And because you never say it out loud, because I never shared it, there was never anybody to tell me, no, Stephen, that's not actually how it works. You were abused.
As hard as it is to come forward and to talk about it, every bit of it's easier to handle and easier to deal with. Now kind of, I guess, getting that burden off of my chest, it's easier to work past it, move on from it.
For 4 of the men, the jury said yes, guilty. He sexually abused them. For 2 of the men, they said, we can't make a decision. And ridiculously, for Justin Conway, the man who has helped to organize this group and lead the way for justice, for getting the Hidden Predator Act passed, the jury said, no, it didn't happen to him.
And he got nothing. It wouldn't matter if he stood on the courthouse steps and said he did it. It didn't matter. There's video from the GBI where he admits it. He could never go to jail for it.
To this day, despite their bravery, this man continues to take a bus to the public school and pick up children at school, and they continue to fight so that parents understand he's a risk to their children.
I think the realization of what I endured as a child and what the other fellas had to go through, and realizing that should never happen to anyone.
What we learned in Georgia is anytime a window is in place, if we really want the public to learn who's at risk and how children are being treated, we need to make sure that the window applies to institutions and perpetrators. I know we'll be back in Georgia trying to make that happen.
Throughout the entire process, it's always been, the focus has been, what can we do so that kids and parents know and don't have to endure that. And it's been more than challenging. But in the end, if nobody stands up, nothing's going to change.
We are honored to give the Child USA Barbara Blaine Trailblazer Award to Justin Conway, Christopher Brazell, Christopher Garwood, Stephen Hood, Dennis Rose, Dennis Stoll, and Stephen Tann. Thank you.
I just want to thank you guys for the award. I really feel that the reward goes to Child USA because it made all of this possible. We didn't have a way to access the court system, and it would have stayed that way if it wasn't for Child USA. So thank you, Marcy, and thank you, Child USA.
Thank you for the recognition, but thank you, Child USA, for everything that you've done for us. Thank you, Marcy, for all the hard work you put in also.
And I really don't think the general population understands it, And so that's why I say thank you again to Marcy and to everyone on your team and in the Child USA organization for taking this on. Someone needs to do it. So we're all glad that you are. So thank you.
So I'd say, thank you to Marcy, King Spalding, and Child USA. None of this has been possible without everyone else's support. We'd be nowhere without all of that support. Thank you to everyone involved and doing exactly what needed to be done and doing the right thing. Thank you, Child USA.
Thank you, Marcy, and thank you, Child USA. And thank you, everybody. Thank you all for your support.
Thank you to Marcy and to Child USA, and also thank you to all those that support Child USA, because we have to fight for those who can't fight for themselves.